Kisame Hoshigaki. Kisame came up in the Mist Village, the Blood Mist Village. He killed a lot of people. Became a rogue ninja. After killing his master, the master, who was one of the legendary swordsmen of the Hidden Mist, he had Samyada, and he had survived a bout with none other than, Might Guy's father. He went into the 8th gate and killed like most of the 7 ninja swordsmen except him. He got away somehow. This guy was fat and weak. Kisame preyed on that weakness, grabbed the Asamehada, and like he had an actual bond with it though. That's the thing. I'm not saying that guy didn't have a bond with him, but the bond that Kisame and Samehada had was like good. He was like utilizing that sword pretty damn well. He was worthy of the fucking sword. I don't blame him for what he did. That guy was a killer anyways. Yeah. A killer killing another killer, another assassin. But he was running around doing stuff. Then Yagura caught him. Was like, hey, Kisame, what are you doing? Yagura's the 4th Mizukage. But who came up behind him? Obito. And he was like, I am Madara Uchiha. He showed his face to, Kisame to like show that he wasn't fucking around and other things. And he was like, oh shit, I'm recruiting people to the Akatsuki, and this guy right here, we understand him to be the Three Tails. We need to catch these Jinchuriki. I need you a part of this group. He joined the group. He became partners with Itachi Uchiha, and they started running around together. Now, Sasuke's brother Itachi was his partner. They were one of the like good groups in the Akatsuki. Probably one of the most powerful groups. When it was all said and done, that duo was all right. They went into Konoha together after the death of Hiruzen. He pulled up with Itachi. They knew who Itachi was, and they knew Kisame was also, somebody else on the bingo book from somewhere else. But he was there to, try to take down Kakashi. Might Guy came in and kicked him. Leaf Hurricane, boom. Then, Kisame wanted to still fight, but then Itachi was like, we have to go. We're here for Naruto. He's not here. And he was like, oh, damn, I wanted to kill that guy. That would maybe come later because it would. But then went to where Naruto was, knocked on the door, and Naruto Naruto was in the room. He was in the hotel room. He ended up getting caught by them. But then Dry came. When Dry came, Kisame's sword somehow got stuck inside of the toad. But Itachi was there, so he used Amaterasu and they got away. Itachi was like, we shouldn't fight against Dry. He's a powerful shinobi. He could figure something out for both of us. He respected Dry for his skills and shit, so they got away. Kisame was running around in the Akatsuki. They eventually saw, he eventually saw Might Guy, but it wasn't really him. It was a 30% clone, and he was feeding it chakra from a distance as he was stealing the One Tails as well. He was doing all that shit at the same time. Yes. He was fighting against, Might Guy. He was defeated, that 30% clone that had his chakra in it. But he was then seen later. When Sasuke came looking for his brother. But before that happened, actually, they went after the Four Tails together. Itachi and, Kisame as their last, mission as, brothers in arms, if you want, to say that. Itachi wasn't feeling that good that day. This was before, like, when Itachi, discovered he had the sickness and shit. So he sat down, but he didn't really sit down like I know, like, because other Naruto fans don't know this. He gave Roshi a glance with his eye, and then he let Kisame handle the rest. Kisame was in a long, drawn-out battle with this guy, but Samehada worked to his advantage. This guy knew, lava style, earth and rock, or rock style, earth style, and fire style. So that's, lava release. The Kekkei Genkai, right? And then Son Goku came out. I don't know if it came out or not, but it probably did. But Kisame was able to, defeat him still. Siphoning off his chakra and carried him back on his Samehada sword. And then siphoned off his chakra and put it, sealed Son Goku inside of, Ten Tails with the rest of the Akatsuki members. Then he was there for Itachi. He was like, let my brother know where I'm going to be at. This is the end. He's like, you want to spar one more time beforehand? And he's like, man, I don't know. I need to save my energy for my brother. And he was like, well, it would have been fun to keep doing this shit, but that's what you want to do, that's cool. So then he told them he told Sasuke where his brother was, and he just, let it happen. And then he was fighting against another, user of another blade. That was Suigetsu. Suigetsu ended up getting his chakra pool taken away, because Samehada has the ability to steal chakra. And that happened during that battle. So that happened. Skip ahead to after Itachi died. Obito's with Kisame, and he's like, what do we need them for? He's like, Obito told him, we'll use them for, catching the Eight Tails. He then went to the Five Kage Summit, the land of iron. And guess who was there? Killer Bee, because Sasuke didn't complete his mission for the Akatsuki, right? Mm-hmm. Kisame wasn't worried about it because he was, fired up. Known as the Tailless Tail Beast because he can absorb chakra. He was ready for a battle with Eight Tails in Turkey. But that ended up being even too much for him. And also, sadly, for Kisame, his partner turned against him. Or he made it look like it, at least. Why are you turning against me? You helped me steal this guy's chakra so I could heal. Now you want to turn against me after we, fused together to put this, animal inside of a, water prison jutsu that he couldn't break out of. Then he broke out of it. So now you want to turn against me. But it was all kind of a game, too. Because he hid inside of Samehada, and he gave Zetsu impersonation jutsu again. He did that shit a lot. Kisame did. And then the Raikage and Killer Bee cut his head off with double lariat. But it was, Zetsu clone. He was still inside of Samehada during the war. Killer Bee was teaching Naruto, how to unlock the Nine Tails power. And he was hearing everything going on. He popped out after Naruto learned, to control some of the Nine Tails chakra. But that's where his story basically ends, because guess what? He popped out, he fought against Mike Guy, which wasn't really him. It was another 30% clone. He was, caught by Yamato, and they told him to divulge information about the Akatsuki. Where are your people at? What is your plans? Why you need Naruto? What is this shit? What is this shit about? Why are you doing this? And he was like, fuck yourselves, because I'm an Akatsuki member, and I ain't gonna sell out my friends like that. He killed himself to keep the secrets of what Obito was actually trying to accomplish and everything else. any real details about it. At least they knew that they were trying to put people in the genjutsu and stuff, but they didn't know anything about where shit was or how they had shit planned out. Kisame was like keeping secrets, as he should have for his team. He is a villain, but he was loyal to the Akatsuki, and he was a good Akatsuki member. He caught a tailed beast. He was known as the tailless tailed beast. He was one of the legendary swordsmen of the Hidden Mist. One of the better water users in Naruto. The only one who you could be considered better than him is Tobi Ramasenju. But that's the life of Kisame Hoshigaki as told by me, Darius the Green Angel. So be cool, call on the corner.